Alright, and welcome. You've made it to the end of Module 2. Your character's now moving and jumping, and now this little bonus lesson here is going to be showing you how to control your camera. Because right now I'm not pretty happy with this. Goodbye, WrapTuck. I will never see you again. Oh, there you are. He's still alive. Okay, I just don't like that. I want my camera to follow him. I want to be able to see what he's doing. So I could just go ahead and parent the camera to the character, but then it's not going to be smooth at all. You're going to be jerking around and just moving all over. When you jump, it's going to make you sick a little bit, I think. Not very desirable to look at. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a script here and attach it to our camera that's going to act kind of like the old Super Mario or like old side-scroller games, you know, where you have your character, camera stays, but once you move away from the camera a certain amount, it's going to kind of ease in and follow your character, catch up to him a little bit, right? So we're going to go ahead and take care of that now. For those of you completely new to programming, this lesson is going to be pretty scary. It's going to be a lot of scripting, but for those of you who have been coding for a while and you find the other one's a little bit slow, this one might be more up to your speed. If you're unsure of what I'm typing and stuff like that, just follow along. Go into the Unity reference it. Look, I'm sure you can figure it out, but I'm going to do my best to help you there. So let's stop talking, let's get into it. Let's right click, let's create a brand new script. I'm going to call this camera tracker. Sounds fun, I don't know why, but I'm going to go ahead and just select my main camera and I'm going to apply this script to it from the get-go so I don't forget and look like a fool later on. So that's that. So I'm going to click this, open this brand new script up. Look at this, we haven't seen a clean white canvas for a while. I'm going to restructure this as I tend to do. Alright. Nice and clean. Camera tracker. Save that beast. First, what we want to do is I want to say how far can my character move away from the camera before the camera starts following my character. So I'm going to create a variable for that right now. I'm going to say public. This is going to be a float. I'm going to say x char range. Tab over 3 times, 1.0, and again, f. Alright, semicolon to end it. So we've created our first variable. I'm going to go ahead and comment this. How far WrapTuck can move away from camera before it follows. Now these values are going to be changing drastically, I'm sure, once we get into testing this. But until then, I'm just going to guess. So ballpark that stuff, right? Okay, next variable. What do we need? I'm going to comment out first. I'm going to say smoothing of camera movement. Public float. I'm going to say x track smooth. I've just thought of names that made the most sense that weren't too long. Extract smooth, and let's go 10.0f. Cool. We're halfway there. Just kidding. So let's move on. Now we want to create a vector 2, and we want that to hold the x max and the x minimum value of how far the camera can move to the left and to the right, because I want the camera to stop moving when it's too far to the left so it doesn't reveal the edge of the level, and I want the camera to stop and kind of be clamped down, have a barrier where it can't move past to move past the exit of the level. So we'll create the variables for those now. These are going to be public. These are going to be vector 2 variables, and I'm going to say max x level. All right, I'm just going to copy, paste, let's go min. Min x level. So let's comment this out and say boundaries, our camera can move in x axis. All right, so moving on down, and then let's create a variable. This is going to hold our camera track point transform. And this variable here is going to hold our game object I actually forgot to create from the beginning. We're going to go back to Unity. We're going to create an empty game object, which is basically just an empty transform. We're going to position it in front of the character, and that's where the camera's going to lock to look at. So I'm going to just go ahead and create this variable, then we'll go into Unity and create that up next. So I'm going to say public transform, and I want to call this one camera track point, and save. So now what is this? We've never really done anything like this before. So let's go into Unity and let's select our camera. Okay, we can see pretty cool. All our variables are coming in. We're going to get in and tweak our max X and min X and stuff like that once we start testing this out here. But we have our character range, how far you can move, our smooth. We can really get in and customize these as we play and make it look perfect. So our camera track point is set to none because we haven't created anything yet for that. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's go game object, create empty. I always reset so everything's 0. And let's move this guy over in the X and the Y. And I'm just going to position this a bit in front of the character. That way the camera is always going to be leading in front of the character a little bit. If I was to use this transform, it'd be more centered on him. But I want it to be able to kind of be panned a little bit in front of him to show you which way to go, right? So I'm going to move that over like so. And this is where our camera's going to lock to. Okay? And I'm going to call this object, let's just say camera tracker. And I'm also going to apply a tag that I've created, camera track point. Cool, so we have our camera track point set up and tagged so we can easily refer to it in our script. Let's parent this to our character now. So now it's always there. And you can see the values have changed just because it's a child inside of this character now. So the position variables will change. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave there. But why can we zero that out? I'm just going to zero that out now and leave this at 1.8. Sure, I'll leave that at 1.8, just something cleaner looking. All right, so that's all good. So I'm going to do one more thing. This is something we haven't done yet either, is let's change its icon. I'm going to set it to a red triangle. So now in our game, or in our scene window, we can go ahead and see that's our camera tracking point. It's kind of cool. I like seeing little things. It makes me feel more developy and stuff like that. So it looks nice. Anyways, now we have this. Let's go back to our main camera. And that's camera track point. We've created an empty variable for it. So what is the track point? What do we want to store in there? Let's just go ahead and click the circle. And let's find our camera track point transform. Because we made the variable a transform type, we can select any transform to store in it. Camera track point's the one I want. Done deal. It's now saved in there. So let's save this, and let's open up this camera tracker script again and carry on. So now this public transform camera track point is now storing our camera track point within our scene. So now let's go down to our update here. We don't need a start function for this script. And then let's carry on and let's change this update to fixed update, as we're going to be using that a bit later. But we're going to go ahead and create our own custom function now. We're going to see how far this character's gone out of that range, our character range, then return that value, and then we can check if he's gone too far, and then we can use another function that we create to snap that camera to catch up to this guy. So let's go ahead and start creating this. So I'm going to create a function, a bool function, to see if it's true or false. And I'm going to say check x char range. All right, that's terrible spelling. Check x character range. And what that's going to do is it's going to check and see if our character range has gone past our threshold that we set here. Now we create our open and close curly brackets here. So now what is this going to do? We want to always be returning a value. We want to return the value of how far he's gone, so we always know what's going on here. So we're going to say math f dot absolute, And mathf.absolute is going to take, even if you have a negative number, because if you're moving away from it in the opposite direction, it's going to make any negative a positive number. So we always, no matter if he's like 1 away in the negative axis or 1 away in the positive axis, both of them are going to be +1, because we don't need to know which direction away he is. We just want to know the value of how far away he's gone, because we're only checking with a positive number up here how far he's gone, right? Now that we have a return set up, let's actually create what it's going to be returning, okay? What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be creating a line of kind of a math equation here. We're going to say we're going to get the position of the camera, and we're going to get the position of that camera tracking point that's parented to our character. It's moving around with our character. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the difference of position between those two objects. And if the difference in position between those two objects is more than what our X range that we set up here, then we can start snapping the position of the camera to our character. So let's go ahead and do that. So first we want to get the transform dot position dot x of our camera. So IntelliSense went ahead and gave me a capital. I don't need that. I need a lowercase. We have that. Now let's subtract. We're going to subtract the camera track point dot position dot x. All right. So now the camera track point, to refresh your memory, is that transform that we used, this red thing here that's parented to our character. So it's always moving with our character. So it's going to subtract the position of that red tracker versus the position of our camera. And it's going to give us the number of the difference between those. So now, if the difference between those is greater than our variable we created, xchar range. Okay, and let me just end the statement. All right, so let's move on to that next piece of the puzzle. So let's start by going up to this fixed update, and let's plug in a function we're about to create, so I don't forget to do it at the end here. So let's create it and just say track player. So we're calling a function that we haven't created yet. So let's go down and create that. Let's say camera tracking main action. All right, and then let's go up here and then let's say this is getting the distance our character is away from camera if we went past the set range we will allow. All right, so now let's start constructing this function here. So let's create the function we've already called. This is going to be a void track player. All right, let's construct this. Review. Remember, you always have the brackets at the end and then the curly brackets to contain this beast. Before we start coding away at this next function, I just want to quickly tell you how this function check x character range is going to be used in here. Quick review. We are returning a value. And we're seeing the value, mathf.abs. So we're turning in whatever we get from this into a positive number no matter what. And all we're doing here is we're getting the position of our camera, and we're subtracting the position x of our character. And if that value is greater than the range that we allow it to in our x character range, then return true to our function, because we are returning a bool type. And if this condition is met, then this function is going to return true. If it's not, it's going to return false, and it's not going to do anything inside of this function. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit for you. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to create a variable. I'm just going to say variable to store the positional information of our player camera. Camera. All right, so we're going to create a variable within this function to store positional information for our game's camera. And that way we can just call upon this variable anytime we want to set or get the positional information of our camera. So let's go ahead and go float, and let's go target x. And This variable is going to store camera's information. The script is attached to our camera, so we'll use our lowercase transform.position.x. All right, semicolon that. So this target x is always equal to our camera's position. Cool. So let's carry on now. So let's go down and let's bring this guy back into the picture. So we're going to create an if statement here. And basically, if our character has gone out of range, we want to smoothly grab our camera and align it back to our character. So that's what we're going to do here. So let's go like this. Let's say if character is out of range, then move camera to follow character until in range again. All right, if only we could just write comments and have the computer figure out how to do that itself, hey? So now let's go. Let's create this if statement here. So if we want to go check x range, it's calling upon that function that I've created up there. If that returns true, and if that returns true, sorry, I had to put these brackets in here because it's a function, right? So whenever you call upon a function, open, close brackets, and then we have to close the brackets for the if statement. So again, if that returns true, then perform what we put in this if statement here. So let's open that up and construct it. So let's take that variable we've created here, target x, and now let's set a new position for it. Let's create a new position for it, really. Let's go math_f.lerp. All right, so here we are with the math stuff again, hey? And what this is going to do is it's going to take a float value from where this camera is, where do we move it to, and then over what time. And then it's going to interpolate in between smoothly. It's kind of like an ease into our camera's moving, right? So first let's find out where our camera is, where we're moving it to, and over how much time do we take to move it to the new position. So let's go ahead and figure that out now. Let's first grab, where's it coming from? It's coming from transform.position.x, wherever it currently is, right? And then we're separating these by a comma. And now we want to go, where are we moving it to? Well, I want to move it to wherever my camera track point now is with my character. So let's go camera, track point dot position dot x. So now we know where we're moving it to. So let's comma. And now over how much time? And that time, we're going to bring in this variable we've created here, x track smooth, okay? Over 10, whatever that's going to be. I'll show you something here that's going to make a lot more sense in a second here. So over x track smooth, okay? So 10, and to tell Unity time, we always have to use, I'm just going to say time dot delta time. Close this off, semicolon that beast. So anytime, if you want to create a timer or give Unity a reference to what seconds in real time is, you always just say time.delta time. So anytime you want to reference time, always bring in time.delta time. Really useful, definitely check it out. So that's all done there. Now, we only have two little pieces left here. So now let's go down. We're out of our if statement here. Okay, let's go down here. And then let's go clamp. Let's use a clamp. One more math thing here. So now we're going to clamp our camera's range of movement. So how do we do this? What this is going to do is this is just going to set the minimum and the maximum value of what our camera can actually move within our level, no matter where our character is. Because I don't want my camera to move beyond the level. That would just look pretty stupid, hey? So let's not have that happen. So let's go target x equals math target x again is our camera's position, f dot clamp. So now what do we need to do? Math f dot clamp. If we look in here, integer value. or sorry, value. What value do we want? We want to get our target X value, right? So let's say target X, that's our camera's position, right? So we're grabbing our camera's position, and now we just want to separate this, and we want to say what is the minimum that our X value can be set to. And we created variables up here for that right now. So we had minimum X level. So let me just call upon that. Min X level. Now IntelliSense isn't showing me these things, which always used to kind of scare me, but just trust yourself and you'll be okay. Minimum X level dot X. I got that, so I'm happy. Okay, and then now we need to set the max level. So let's go max X level dot position X. Okay, and there we go. Let's close that off and end it there. Okay, so now we have a quick recap on this. We've taken our camera's position, we've set it equal to math clamp. So now we've clamped it. So now we've grabbed our target X value and we've said you cannot go any less value than what this variable's set to, our minimum X, and you cannot move any further than our max X level, which we'll set as we're testing this out because they're all public variables up here. So we can set that to any value we want. So now we've created a set range where our camera cannot go out of. Cool. And now, okay, so now we're ready to finally finish this off and move our camera. So that's, it's like, what? We haven't moved it yet? Look at all this stuff. But this is all just to get where we're going to be moving it to and when. We're writing a program, basically, right? So we have to set these conditions, and then once we finally get the value, let this thing think for us now, because we've set it to do that, and now we just need to tell it, okay, now finally move it after you've done all this. So we've created this variable, target X is our camera's position, right? So we're going to use target X down here, and what we've done is we've created an if statement to say if our character's moved, then grab a new positional value for him using these calculations that we've walked through. So now we've also set target X cannot, it's clamped, it can't move past these, but move it to wherever we get in here within these boundaries. So let's finally go ahead and do that. So let's say move our camera after all calculations are done with. Above. dot, 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 dot. Okay, so now let's go like this. Let's say transform dot position, okay, because that's a position of our camera we're calling upon, equals new, remember, because we're doing positional, we need to use a vector, vector 3. All right, the reason why I'm using a vector 3 is because we can only input a vector 3 into a camera. Every camera in Unity, even though this is a 2D game, is going to have 3D parameters. We can't give a vector 2 to a vector 3 receiver. This needs the X, Y, and the Z. So that needs a vector 3. So that's why we're doing that. So let's open this back up here. New vector 3, okay? And now let's create our vector 3. So we want to give it its X position, which is the only position we're actually moving this camera in through the script, right? And that X position is going to be our target X that we've created. So let's go target X. All right, that's our X position. Now let's go to our Y position. And our Y position is just going to stay where it is because we're not affecting it. We're not moving it in the Y. We're not moving it in the Z axis. So we're just going to say, stay where you are. So transform dot position XY. Okay, stay where you are in the Y. We're not doing anything to you. And of course, this is changed to a capital. I didn't want that. Transform.position Y. And let me go back and copy this. And transform.position Z. I'm just going to keep it where you are because that's all we need from you. We're not changing anything. Okay, and that is the final. I'm just going to space it out a little bit. There's our script, guys. So I'm going to save this. And let's go back to Unity, and now let's build this to work. So I'm going to select my main camera. You can see all my variables here. I'm going to hit play. We need to do a bit of tweaking. So as you can see, our camera is locked to a different position now, so we know it's working. But what we need to do is we need to set our min X level. So let's set our minimum that it can go, and see if we go too far. Look at this, it's way over there. So I want to set this to lock to the minimum it's allowed to go is right in there, so I don't see any of that stuff. So -182, and now let's move our character, and now you see it's not very smooth yet, but we can figure that out. But now let's move. So I want my max, I want to go more this way, right? So let's bring it, let's actually move WrapTuck all the way to the edge. And okay, so I want my camera to not go any further than this. Oh, look at that. Matching. 182. Okay. And now, look at this. Our camera's moving with them. It's pretty awesome. It's clamping and everything. So, as we can see, our X character range, look how unsmooth that is. That's terrible. Our range is set to 1 right now. I'm just curious. I'm going to drag this. Wow. See what it did there? Let's stay... It's going to go really low. Okay, so as soon as I move, it's going to start moving. It looks a lot smoother now. So what do I like? That's actually pretty good. Except I don't like this. I wonder what happens if I just drag this down too. It's looking better. It's not so snappy now. There you go. I'm pretty happy with this actually. So let's set this to 0.1 for character range. I was way off on my estimation. And our track smooth, let's just set it to 2.5. I'm just curious what that's going to do. I really like that actually. That's smooth. Like butter. Okay, so there we have it. Our character is moving, he's jumping, our camera's following him. But now what you want to do, X character range, 0.1, 2.5. Let's go 1.82 minus 1.82. I'm just going to memorize those, hopefully. 0.1, 2.5, 1.82, and minus 1.82. There we go. So now I've updated those variables to stay. So thank you guys all for sticking through this module. You guys just dove pretty deep there into coding. From looking ahead in this course, you guys have made it through the hardest programming you're really going to have to do here. We're going to take a little break from programming and we're going to move on to getting into animation within the next module. So we're going to start seeing how we can bring in our animations and bring this character to life. Make him move, make him jump, make him blink his eyes, you know, like give some character to this dude. So WrapTuck will be living it up in the next module. So I look forward to seeing you there.